15 things.
Got 15 things?
15
We're
things.
here at the workbench, and you got a lot of them to talk about right here while we're doing the rigs and techniques, so let's go to.
Well, first off, if you're going to be in a boat, make sure that you follow all the rules for the boat and the kids. You know, any kid under 13 has to wear a life jacket when the boat is underway on every boat under 26 feet. Same way with a kayak or a paddle board or something like that. You have to wear it when you're underway. So make sure you do that. And if you're going to call that guide, like Matt was saying, you're going to call the guide and say, we got the kids coming, and he might have these kind of life jackets on board, which most of us guys do. We don't carry a whole lot of expensive life jackets. You want to make a kid squall, you put him in this thing for 10 minutes, he'll be squalling, because this thing is very uncomfortable. This is made for emergency. You know, what you want to do is you get the vest type, the guys that wear skiing and zip up on them, and it's tight, and it's not all in their face and everything. It's very comfortable. They can't hardly walk around on the boat when they've got one of those. Go early or go real late, and that does two things. It puts you in the best time to be fishing, and it puts a natural time limit on things. If you go early in the morning, by the time the sun gets up high, it's time to quit. At nighttime, you go, a couple hours before sunset, fish till it gets dark. You got a natural time limit there, and that's a great thing to have because, once it stops being fun, it's time to go. It's time to go. Make sure you bring your sunscreen and your bug spray. I like to use the wipe-on kind if you can get it, especially with the sunscreen. You spray it on the boat, it goes everywhere. This stuff, DEET is the most repulsive things to fish. So if you can get the little wipes to wipe the kids down to keep that stuff, that's a great thing.
And pay attention to where they're spraying it, because if it gets in your live well, adios.
Yes. Use the hair hooks, O'Shaughnessy hair hooks. These are some, I think those are 12s. They're really small, and with a long shank on them. And what that long shank does, it's because that hook's so small and a little brim or whatever is so small, that's got a little piece of fish bites on it. That long shank allows you to get that hook out a lot easier than if you were using a little tiny short shank hook on those little fishes.
Right.
Try to make sure that they can catch something. Go to a dock or a boat ramp or something where the fish get fed a lot, because that makes them easy to catch. You throw a couple pieces of bread in there, and then that fish bites on that that number 12. Right. You're going to catch the fish.
Bobbers.
Bobbers are great. There was a reason why we grew up using bobbers. A kid can fixate on the bobber. He can look at the bobber and see what it does and react when something happens. Right. And for smaller kids, that's what you need. Once they get a little older, you can start using other stuff
like popping lures, shaking heads.
Things that you can throw out and reel back to you. Yeah. That you don't want it to.
Baits.
Yes. Any paddle tails. Let them do as much or as little as the kids want to do. But to me, it was way easier, because I was always a hyperactive kid, to be moving.
You're still a hyperactive
Yeah, I'm a little hyperactive, but to be moving, moving all the time. I wanted to be reeling and cranking,
Spoons?
You can also, spoons are the same thing. A spoon works in freshwater and saltwater. Again, you throw it out, reel it back to you.
So Dave, when they first get started, preferred type of tackle?
I like a spin cast, like this one. We're going to talk about it in new products later. But something, that fits their size, their hands and everything. All kids are different. I can't tell you that a 6-year-old, your 6-year-old is going to be the same as mine. They all develop at different rates, their hand-eye coordination and everything else. This allows them to get that overhand cast down, let go, and it trains them. If you can start on the little spin cast.
It's so simple. You just push the button.
Push the button. And you don't have a lot of tangles and whatnot to mess with during the day. Yeah. And that's just the way to go. You go from here, then to a spinning reel, and then to a bait caster is what I would recommend. Use mono. Use light mono. Don't use braid when you're teaching kids how to fish. The braid is not kid friendly. Especially little kids, once they get 12, 13 years old. Once they get old enough to get a pair of clippers and cut themselves out of it, that's when they can start using braid. Right. Because it can cut you really bad, and it's very limp and limber and can get tangled up real easily.
So what about food, Dave?
Well, you always bring enough food for everybody.
Lots of snacks,
a lot of stuff to eat, to drink, especially in Florida in the summertime. Keep them hydrated.
Texas
too, correct.
Yeah,
it gets hot. So just try to make sure that you keep them hydrated, keep them busy.
Do you put a time limit on it?
It depends on the kids, you know. Sometimes you say, hey, we'll fish for 2 hours. I always try to tell them that that's what we're going to do so that they know ahead of time. This is what we're going to do. This is when we're going to leave. And it seems to work out a lot better that way than just hanging out until whenever.
Right.
If you have a time to go and a time to leave, it makes everything a lot smoother.
You know, the one thing I can tell you with my kids is live bait was a huge part of it.
Yes.
So whether you're fishing with crickets, whether you're fishing with worms or shiners, or if you're offshore, shrimp, crabs, you know what I mean?
They're fun to play with.
Yeah.
They're fun to catch.
And let them play in the live well, guys.
Yes.
It's got to be a good experience. Otherwise, they'll never want to go back.
That's right.
Good work over here, bud.
Yeah, no worries.
I even learned some more stuff.
I completely agree. I think my kids have played more with the live well and the bait rather than catching a fish, and it's probably been about 15 minutes all time fishing.